Keip. What's the deal?
What's going on, man? Chilling. Just glad to be here.
For sure, man. Glad we can get the interview in. So, since this is our first interview, just let me know where you from and what was your childhood like growing up.
Man, I'm from the west side of Detroit. Childhood growing up, I'm one of five. Two siblings, two sisters. I'm like number 4 in the lineup. Grew up a little different because I was homeschooled. So I was doing a lot of reading at home,
Now,
chilling in the gyms.
when you say homeschool, like you never went to a school or like how homeschool were you?
I was homeschooled all the way up until like high school. Different as far as I went to these things called co-ops, which were like basically off-brand versions of school, because it was other homeschoolers like me basically going to school, and we had like periods, we had different subjects that were also taught by either teachers or like parents. But yeah, that was pretty much the closest experience I had to school before I got to college.
Okay, so all right, so you start doing that once you hit like high school age?
Yeah.
And like before that, it was just like your parents teaching you stuff?
Yep, parents, like parents and co-ops. Co-ops for me was kind of like extra credit or like extra curriculum, because like my parents were very invested like in the homeschooling, because like they bought the textbooks and like we had a schedule for like what subjects we were doing each day, and they would go over like the chapters and lesson plans. So yeah, it was really my parents all the way up through high school.
Okay. So like, when you got to college and like, I'm sure you was like meeting different people, from all different types of backgrounds. Was like everybody surprised that you was homeschooled? Like, how was that?
No, definitely. Like everybody was really surprised that I was homeschooled, because they had run-ins with other homeschoolers who weren't, I guess, as normal as me, could socialize and not seem awkward about it. So I mean, I could believe him on that, because I had my own awkward experiences with other homeschoolers to a point, because for some reason it's just, I don't know what it is, but sometimes they just don't act natural.
Okay, so you feel like you're not in that stereotype.
Nah, just because growing up, I always talked, I guess, so I could somewhat talk my way into good situations or out of some bad. And it was just like the thing that I did when of course I met new people, because I was just always interested in learning about some stuff, so I always asked questions and talked.
Yeah, and plus you had a bunch of siblings, so some of them, it probably really was just them.
Yeah, single parent homes, single child homes, not parents.
Okay, so like at when you get to college, at what point did you start music? Did you start thinking about wanting to do music?
I kind of started thinking about getting really into music, I guess, when I started taking more English classes, just English literature. So we were just doing a lot of reading and writing, and writing is something that I used to do when I was younger, because my mom, I think on it was either my 14th or 15th birthday, bought me a journal. So a lot of those times I was just writing stuff about how my day went. Sometimes I would write rhymes or just other stuff. But basically when I got back into school and I just started doing more writing with all of my classes and taking more notes, that's kind of just how I got back into it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm guessing when you most of your songs, you write them?
Yeah, all of my songs. Yeah, I write. And a lot of my songs I kind of just write off of any kind of given idea, and then I try to put a bit of an emotion behind it. That's kind of just how I've just conducted the writing, because I really just didn't have any direction, and the closest thing I could think of was just trying to make it sound a little less personal, and try to write something that somebody else could relate to, just even if it's just a feeling or a word. So like kind of like that's just majority of like how I've been like writing my content.
Okay. And how would you describe your style of music?
Mm. Uh, I guess a little introspective in a way, because I try to, write a mixture of, something that, is going on with me, or, other events that I've been involved in, or like things I've seen. And I kind of just, you know, write a small reflection of like me in the music. I'll say something about me, or, something I appreciate in my friends, or something I'm going through. So it's kind of just been like reflection music, I guess, in a way too.
Okay. I fuck with that. And I feel like, being from Detroit, a lot of people have like a image of what they feel like you're gonna be when you say you're from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And even you have a different background. You've been homeschooled. You don't make the typical, as they would say, Detroit music.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that puts you at a disadvantage, or how do you feel about that?
Um, I feel like that gives me a good leg to stand on, because my sound's a little unique, because I don't sound like a lot of Detroit rappers. I think that really makes, the music, sound more like me, just because, my flow's a little different. Sometimes the beats that I choose, or like the content. So I kind of feel like, me doing what I'm doing, and then also being in Detroit, you know, makes me sound a little bit different, but also, just somebody from the city.
Okay. Yeah, nah, I would say you send me early access to your tape that's dropping tomorrow.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. You're only the second person to ever do that. For me,
Yeah,
so
I'm pretty excited about the project. So, and I also did want you to listen to it a little bit. So,
yeah.
I'm just excited for it.
Yeah, you got my listen, and I wanted to mention that I do fuck with the beats that you pick.
Appreciate it.
Who are you usually working with when you in the studio and choosing beats and all that?
Man, my producer Brandon. I've been working with him with all of my projects, like from the first one I dropped, which might have been like Loose Screws. About like maybe 2020 is when I dropped like my first single, and he's been working with me on like all my projects. A lot of the beat selection, I've actually chosen like the beats, and the way I've been trying to choose like the beats is I'm really looking for a beat that's gonna like catch my ear, or like drop like maybe like cause like a thought or a feeling. And I was also just like looking for beats that were like just a little bit interesting, that could like maybe challenge me, because at the time I didn't have that much experience recording and like working in studios. So beat selection was just something I was trying to be like careful but like bold about.
Okay, and I know you said, Joe, like your music is introspective and you try to like put yourself in the music.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel like you make music, and what do you want people to get from your music?
I guess for me, like the thing I really want people to get out of like my music is that, just the simple, you can do this too, or like you don't have to be like a certain type of like person to make music, because like everybody feels like, like nowadays, like if you're a rapper, you fall under like a certain box or like whatever. But in music we have like a lot of different versions of somewhat of the same thing. Like we have a lot of artists from like different backgrounds, and for me, like I hear like a lot of people, as soon as I started like coming out with music, want to do music, but I don't know if it's like they're not like comfortable enough doing it. But for me, I just, make my music because I really enjoy it. It's a great form, honestly, of expression, because there's a lot of things that go on in my life that sometimes I don't talk about. So I definitely like put it into like the music. And I kind of feel like a lot of people can do that too and like make it sound great.
So, take me back to when you dropped your first song and you know you letting everybody know that you making music. Like, how were you feeling about that? And then how did you feel about the reaction you got once it was out?
Like, I was honestly very, very nervous. I was like, I was excited, but I was definitely getting ready for like the bad critics or like the people that would like poke fun at it. I was like preparing myself for that because before I released like any music, I was going to the studio and just recording and trying to find my sound for like almost like 5 to 6 months. So like when I first, was ready to release one, I was just, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say? And to my surprise, I ended up getting like a lot of like, good compliments, good reviews, a lot of people like enjoying it. And it kind of just, the snowball effect kind of like just picked up from there because in that time, of just recording and not releasing, I had a couple more, singles that I wanted to. So once they got, the good review on the one, I dropped a couple more afterwards and it just kept going from there.
Okay. And like, so how do you feel about those first songs now that you're a little bit more comfortable making music?
I definitely hear like a little bit of like, my like progress or like progression. Like the songs that I did like drop were good and it definitely gave me like a great foundation to build on. And it definitely like, gave me a bit of the boost that I somewhat needed to like come out with like some of my later projects. And, I do listen to them sometimes because it took me a while to appreciate like my music. But I kind of do appreciate a little bit of the work I put in now.
Okay. And so I know about a situation and you spoke about it in the music.
Yeah.
Where somebody took like a song or a song idea from you.
Yeah.
And like tell me exactly like what happened with that.
That situation was like real crazy and just it was a roller coaster of emotions for real because when it happened, it was around the time that I actually had no music out. So it was like it happened between the gap of like those 5 and 6 months that I just spent in the studio, just working on songs and just working on like my sound and just like my presence and all that. I was originally recording with a different producer before Brandon, and that person was like fickle. He was iffy. I would try to like get studio time with him and he would agree on like a location and a time. And then like the week of, I would text him and call him and just not hear from him. So I got tired of that. So I was trying to look for somewhere else to record. I saw a friend of mine like advertise like some of his music on Instagram, and I listened to a couple of songs and I thought they were good. And I reached out to him. So I sent him a text and I was just like, hey, I'm trying to do music. There were some projects that I wanted to work on and I just needed a place that I could go and record. So I was asking, where were you recording? Who are your producers? And he sent me some phone numbers, hit them up, went there. Everything was going good. He shows up to the first studio session, because he was like, I'm going to show up. I'm going to show support. I also want to see what you can do. So I was a little nervous going in. So I made sure that I had like at least like some writtens. I was going to try and freestyle, but I made sure that I had something I could like work with. Went into like the studio, like we recorded like 2 songs there. When I got out, he was like, yo, I didn't know that you could, rap. That sounded pretty good. He liked kind of like my beat selection and he wanted to work with me on one of the songs and like be like a feature on my project. And at the time, I was cool with it because I knew him and I figured it would just be good experience, early on to work with different artists. So we're fast forwarding those 5-6 months and I'm I'm texting him, I'm calling him just about like, is he finished with his verse? Did he finish his verse? And then he ended up sending me a message saying that, he wasn't gonna do it and that I could just, have the track and all this other stuff. And I was just like, okay, well, you made me wait so long, and I've like
It
held
was like
off
an
on
instant switch up, like quick.
Yeah, it was a weird switch up because like I also reached out to the producer where I recorded the track at, and I was even telling him like, let me know when Boy comes into the studio, so I can like I want to be there and I want to listen to his verse because depending on what his verse was, I was gonna either like change a little bit of mine or just like match his energy or however he was gonna do it. So, yeah, like he hit me up like months later and was like, he's cool on it. He wasn't gonna do it. He was like, you can have the track, and I was just like, all right. I was kind of just like, that was pointless. Like you made me wait months. I was holding off on this thing. I was gonna drop it. But I kind of just like put it in the back of my head because at the time I was working on my EP. Then it was it might have been around February. He drops a project. He drops a little 3-track EP, and it's all on his Instagram. It's on his story, and it's this song. It's a song called "Oh 09" that everybody's messing with, and I'm just like, all right, let me listen to it. And lo and behold, like the first 2 verses was like word for word, like the bar that I had in the song that I recorded that he was supposed to be on. And I had to rewind it because I'm just like, this can't have happened. Like this can't be real. Like
So
I'm already going like
so wait, you turned the song on and what he took like your whole verse word for word?
Took the whole verse. Like the only thing I gotta say he changed was like the 09, cause like mine was like 04. So his was like yada 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 09. That was like the only thing that was kind of like changed. So for a minute I didn't say anything because I'm just like, this is crazy. So I do end up like, talking to like some of my friends who was with me like in the studio and who have been coming to like my studio sessions. And for a minute I didn't want to respond. I didn't have anything to respond with, but I was just in disbelief because I knew the nigga and it was just like my first go run with trying to work with a new art, like we worked with an artist. It was like my first time, dealing with like somebody who wasn't gonna be honest with the work.
You feel like that threw you off from like working with people going forward?
It kind of did. It kind of just like gave me like a bad taste in my mouth because he knew I was working on a project. Like he heard the track before and then he released it before me. It just felt like the biggest snake move like ever. Cause I reached out and I texted him and he hit me with the "what you mean." So I ended up calling him and talking to him and he just didn't want to admit to nothing. He was just saying a whole bunch of bullshit, like just giving me every type of excuse. But after like, 2-3 days after that call, I was just like, it gave me kind of like the second wind into my project, the trial run. Because I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to use this as fuel. And like, he's really giving me so much more than he's taking. I was like, because I can just talk about this nigga like all day. Like, I can talk about what this nigga did for like the longest. And I ended up like texting Brandon to set up the studio. I went in there, I like recorded a freestyle on it. I recorded a couple other tracks that was like going on the EP, and to a point, it helped me out of a rut. It gave me something to really like grind at, because I was just like, I was pretty pissed off. I was just like, it was just crazy. It was just crazy.
I feel it, man. So, I mean, but shit, the people are here tomorrow when they hear what I heard. And
Yeah.
and shit, I guess he'll hear it too.
Man.
So
Yeah, I'm waiting on a response for real. We got something for that.
but yeah, so just for anybody, if it was anybody who like never heard any of your music, and this could be on the tape tomorrow too, but like, what's the first song that you would send to them to get them hip to you?
Man, that's a good one. The first song, would it have to be like new or old? Like, would it just be anything?
Whatever you want to be the first song that they hear from you.
Man, For me, it would be between Different Breed on the Trial Run EP, or I would have to say either In My Bag or Late Night Thoughts on the update that's coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
So I kind of got two because, Different Breed was just a fun track that I recorded, and like it was a nice like in studio like just song that we did, and just it was just one of those like feel good songs that I did where I was just like having fun in the studio, just rapping, and then just like some of them bars came were like just freestyle improvs that I just decided to throw in there. And Late Night Thoughts is just a song that I recorded that really tried to like incorporate like a lot of the stuff that I was going through and like thinking. So I would probably just say those two for real.
Okay. And with the tape dropping tomorrow, what most do you want people to like? What can people expect?
I feel like people can expect just a larger slice of me. Like I really tried to talk about a lot of the things I've been going through with the music that I've dropped, after the trial run, the stuff that was going on with me a little bit last summer. It's probably going to answer a little bit of questions on, what I've been up to, because there's just been a lot of people asking me, what I've been on, when is an album going to drop? And I've just been busy with, my everyday life. And I was trying to keep the project as like quiet as possible because I was kind of working on it like back in December. And at the time, the project was going under a different theme. I had like a different direction for it. But with like, a lot of the events that was going on and just like my everyday personal life, it kind of inspired me to make like a course correction. I made a detour and I just scrapped a lot of the tracks that I was working on, and we just like started over from scratch. So, the album for me, the most, thing I want them to take away is I want this to be like a response album to any of the questions that people have had, anything that people have been thinking, what they've been wondering about me and what I've been doing. I try to put as much as like everything in there as possible.
All right. Yeah, I think you definitely achieved that since, I got the early listen.
Thank you.
And anything you want to leave with the people before we get up out of here?
Man, just thank you to all of my friends who have like come to the studio and just like helped me. They were the ones who truly pushed me to do this. We might have had like a session and a conversation, I think back in like 2019, where one of my friends, he just was in the car and he was just looking around and just talking to all of us, saying that, when 2020 comes around, we didn't know about COVID at the time, that we would all start doing things that we really wanted to do. Like whatever hobby it was, whatever passion that you had, we need to do like, more investment into it. And, they were really talking to me about like getting into rap, go to the studio, like record this stuff. You don't know how good it is until you do it. And, they were the ones that really pushed me to do this. So big shout out to them because, they're my biggest supporters. They've helped me with some of my content. And to anybody, like I said, who's been wondering what I've been up to, this is your response. I hope you're listening. I try to answer all the questions I could. I try to let you guys know how I've been feeling and what's been going on. So I really hope you guys enjoy. That's all.
All right, for sure, as always, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Thanks for having me, man.
Peace.